Fury turned down the Wilder rematch. They weren't effective, and all the bad stuff I've said in the past about Wilder, he ain't at fault here. Tyson Fury has turned his back on this rematch to sign a big financial deal with ESPN to take what looks like at the moment easier, less appealing fights. I don't blame him, you know, but until a deal is presented like that I feel we cannot turn this deal down. I don't want to restrict the landscape and make sure that Joshua can't fight there, because what's important to Joshua is the undisputed world championship. That is the key, and it's not about he can only fight there and he can only fight there. We need to have that flexibility right now in his career to see what happens post Big Baby Miller, especially in that month after, to know that we must strike and make the Wilder fight in November, December. It's the biggest fight in world boxing. It's the best fight in world boxing. We have to make it. So we've got to be very careful right now just to make sure that we're not handcuffed to not be able to make a fight.
So common sense would say to keep him as a free agent, Joshua, and not
presented itself. Yeah. That was just a deal that, you know, sometimes that happens. And again, that probably happened. I'm sure Fury probably wanted the rematch with Wilder.
What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I'm listening to a interview with Eddie Hearn on Fight Hub TV. Fight Hub TV was interviewing Mark Villegas. He was interviewing Eddie Hearn. And Eddie Hearn was simply stating that Anthony Joshua, as some people know and some people don't know, but if you don't know, now you know. Anthony Joshua is not exclusively for DAZN. He fights on DAZN for a fight-by-fight basis, okay? And he was also explaining that he didn't want to restrict Anthony Joshua by only fighting him on DAZN, because if he's locked into the contract like Tyson Fury is, like Canelo is, we're not sure about Wilder, and I'll get to Wilder later, but he did not want to block a fight like that with a possible fight with Wilder, okay, for the undisputed, because that will go against what Anthony Joshua really wanted. And it would be sad if Anthony Joshua actually decided to take a deal with DAZN for a lucrative amount of money, like $400 million. And, you know, it would be great for him, but it would be bad for us, the fans, and everything else, because at that point, the belts wouldn't matter. He would be just as worse off, this Deontay Wilder, consumed in his own success, to the fact that he don't know how to cap the success that he's in due to financial gain, okay, if that makes sense. And what Eddie Hearn was saying is that Anthony Joshua wants that big fight. So since he wants the big fight, let's see what he does. Let's see what he says.
But ultimately, he turned it down for this deal. But, you know, I don't want to sound arrogant. Joshua's made a lot of money, you know, and he will make a lot of money. But he wants that undisputed. That's what he wants. And, you know, it's about legacy right now. And I feel like after 22 fights, what will be 23 with Big Baby Miller, if you look at his pedigree and his resume, it's outstanding compared to the others. But he still wants that. It's the ultimate, isn't it? It's the golden chalice. It's everything.
It makes everything complete.
Yeah, it's the undisputed heavyweight world champion.
So, okay, so when you come here, a lot of fans blame you guys for not making that fight. Go over to the UK, they blame Wilder for not making the fight. Obviously, it's a little bit of both, I think, when you look at on the outside. It's the same stuff with, like, Mayweather-Pacquiao. Both sides were at fault for, so...
Just on that, it's changed a lot. I mean, when, like, Joshua made a little bit of an error when he came out and went, give me 50 million, I'll sign. So then Wilder sends a personal email. We all know the stories. And it was a bit, the heat was on us a little bit. Obviously, when the DAZN offers were sort of published and rumoured recently, it went the other way. Oh my God, Wilder's turned this fight down. What is he doing? So everyone's always to blame. Like, we haven't been perfect in this negotiation. They haven't been perfect. But cut the bullshit. We've got to try and make it. Like, that's all that matters. We all have an obligation to try and make this fight. And there's so many different people in that. There's me, there's Joshua, there's Deontay, there's Al Heyman, there's Shelley. We've all got to keep trying. And we can't turn our back on it. And
I think the big thing is going to be like where it lands, you know, and a lot of the times it's always been like the middle ground has been, we'll do a pay-per-view where we co-promote it, but if he's with DAZN, Joshua, they give him a deal, that's a big wedge there because their whole philosophy is no pay-per-view.
What it will come down to is which broadcaster is willing to pay the most money. Because there's the other stuff, there's no real variables. You know, we know it sells out any arena in the world and it makes a lot of money on the gate. We know it breaks UK pay-per-view records, and we know pretty much within 5 or 10% how much that'll generate.
Do you think because he turned down, it was a great deal from DAZN, I even scratched my head like, oh, why did he turn this deal down? It seems that Wilder's a very loyal guy, and he feels, okay, he owes something now, and they're paying him good money. So even if it's a fantastic offer, you still got to think he still might not take it if the offer is come to DAZN and
But at the end of the day, maybe there's an offer from them to me or us for Joshua. I don't know.
you would have no problem moving Joshua over there for one fight.
At the end of the day, what I've said before is Joshua's with DAZN. We see his long-term future with DAZN. If there is a deal that comes in from another platform to make that fight on another platform, that I can't, honestly look my client in the eye and say, no, I'm not going to be that guy that goes to him and say, no, don't do this. You can do this. We can do this instead. It's much better for you. I promise. I'm not going to be that guy.
So they're basically wanting this fight at all cost, right? Because Anthony Joshua fights on DAZN. We know he fights on DAZN, but he's fighting from a fight-by-fight basis to keep their options open. We know that. And how Eddie just explained is he's not going to be that guy that if they offer him a deal from Showtime, okay, that is that big, that massive, that unrefusable, he's not going to look his client in the eye and say, don't do that, we can do this with something else. And I know what he was doing with that. He was really throwing shade at Shelly Finkel because that's exactly what Shelly did. Shelly went to Deontay after that negotiation was over. Really he started some shit in the negotiations about Joshua's purse, which that I feel he shouldn't have even mentioned Joshua at all. It's the fight Joshua, not what Joshua's getting. People don't understand that because at the end of the day, if you don't understand that and then you sit there and say, well, he should know what Joshua's getting. Well, fair enough. We should know what he's getting now for staying with Showtime. We should know exactly what he's getting. We should know exactly what his fight purse is. We should have known what his fight purse is when he fought Tyson Fury initially, right from jump. Then we would have knew, okay, you're full of shit. Because you turned down 12.5, then 15 million to fight for $4 million on a potential to make more money just because it's pay-per-view. That doesn't mean anything. People got to buy that shit. And in fact, the people that buy it are the people like myself, like other people that want to support the sport of boxing. We don't speak for the masses. The masses are the same people that go to Best Buy and buy Fire Sticks and download a bunch of bullshit and jailbreak it and watch it for free. Okay? So that might not be the best model out there. So we know that. So you got to put that into perspective, okay, and really look at this. And Shelly talked out Deontay Wilder, and as Mark Villegas, he said, I even scratched my head on that deal. Why did he turn that down? See, things are starting to change and turn, and Eddie was like, well, Anthony fucked up by saying, hey, give me $50 million, I'll fight tomorrow and all that. He didn't go too much into it, but, let me counterpunch Eddie real quick for what he said. Tyson Fury, he did turn down the initial rematch contract for Deontay, but he didn't turn the fight down completely because of his newfound contract. You could look at that and say he did, but he did not, and I'm gonna prove it. Tyson Fury offered Deontay Wilder, along with Bob Arum, a contract to fight Tyson Fury, but with an attachment of 3 other fights. Okay, so he didn't necessarily turn him down. He just wasn't going to fight him next. So if you could look at that like, okay, Deontay wanted to fight him next, well, you could say, well, he did avoid that fight for that time. You could say that. Depends on how you want to look at it. But the initial deal would cause Deontay Wilder to fight 3 other fighters or 2 other fighters and then eventually Tyson Fury on one of those 4. you know, in no certain order. You know what I mean? But if I had to guess, he would be the last one. You know what I mean? You fight the person you really want to fight. But they were going to make Deontay Wilder fight these fights and then give him what his ass made from the pay-per-view guarantee of $4 million per, you know, or roughly around $4 million per fight up until that particular fight of Tyson Fury. You see what I'm saying? And then that would have been an upside for him, and then, you know, Tyson Fury gets his upside, but of course he would probably get 60% of what Deontay would have got 40. You know what I mean? Because it's on his network at the end of the day. So, you know, you're looking at all this, and I had to counterpunch Eddie Hearn. So he did say he ducked it, or in a sense he did, but in a sense he didn't. You know what I mean? He was like, well, hey, you know, they pulled some slick shit out of the hat. Like, yeah, you can fight me eventually, but if you sign this contract to fight on ESPN, you know what I mean? So then Deontay would have a contract with ESPN along with Tyson Fury, but Tyson Fury's contract would be a lot bigger than the offer to Deontay Wilder. Okay, so I'm gonna keep continuing to go through this, and let's see what else Eddie has to say, because he has so much to say. So let's hear it.
I'm going to look at it and go,